"I'm sorry, I cannot approve your visa at this moment." This is probably the words that you will be hearing from your visa officer when you get rejected for your F1 visa. And I've been getting so many messages lately that sounds something similar to this, that Yudi, I got my visa rejected. I don't even know why. Everything looked fine. I didn't even have opportunity to explain. Maybe they only asked me one question and before even I could complete it, they rejected the visa. And I just want to say, I totally feel the pain. Visa rejection is not just painful, it's also very confusing because it's completely dependent on visa officer's mood. Yes, I mean, I hate to say it, but if they didn't like your face, if they had an ugly fight with their partner or something, they are having a rough day, or maybe a person before you made it, it could be any number of reasons. Even though your case is completely fine, you could face a rejection. Unfortunately, that is just the reality. But there is also flip side. There are some common F1 visa rejection, that at least 4 of them that I'm gonna tell you in this video, that these are the things that visa officers really look for to reject your visa. And most students end up making mistake in one of these 4 categories. And because of that, you give them an opportunity to even get your visa rejected higher. So I hope that in this video that we cover all these 4 categories. You prepare for these questions very, very heavily, and hopefully you avoid these mistakes so your visa don't get rejected. And if you ask me, how did I come up with this data? Well, first of all, I actually have an ultimate F1 visa course with an ex-visa officer. You can check the link in the description. And not just that, I've actually filmed more than 5 videos with this ex-visa officer where we go in depth about all of this. This visa officer has served in Mumbai and Delhi consulate. And if that's not enough, I actually got invited to Mumbai consulate embassy, where I went and spoke to visa officer and filmed 2 separate videos. They're also on my channel. I'll put all of this link in the description so that you can watch it if you want to go in depth. But here are the 4 reasons. And before we get started, let me tell you, my name is Yudi, and on this channel we talk about everything related to becoming an international student in United States. So coming for your master's or bachelor's, to becoming an immigrant, whether it is your H1B visa, green card, and anything in between this, we cover on this channel in depth. So if you are into this journey, please consider joining our beautiful community by subscribing to the channel. So the number 1 reason is insufficient financial proof. I cannot emphasize on this. This is probably like very common reason, and a reason which visa officer is looking for to reject your visa if you don't nail this down properly. Now, let me say this very clearly. Just having money in your bank account is not enough. You may have the money, but you need to communicate. You need to prove that. You need to explain the financial situation. And most students make the mistake over here. They just don't. Let me give you a real example. So a student from our ultimate job hunting community basically told me this, that this was their visa experience, where they asked them, like, how are you going to afford your education? They said, my father has a business, we can afford it. That's it. No clarification, no context, no breakdown. And what was the outcome? Visa was rejected right after that question. Here's what most students often do wrong. They bring the bank statement, they bring all the documentation, the liquidation document and all of it. But guess what? Most visa officers don't even look at those documents, because in some countries, these documents are easy to fake. So they don't want to spend time looking at that document. Plus, most visa officers get 30 seconds to 2 minutes to adjudicate your case, especially in the countries like India. So they don't have time to look for your document. You need to explain the context and you need to communicate. So practicing this is going to be the key for this answer. Right, let me give you another example. One of the students in our live immigration session said that they told the officer that my uncle is in Dubai and is my sponsorer, but he had no idea what the business his uncle ran, how his uncle was making income, and not just that, how the income is going to come for the next year. Because remember, what visa officer is trying to judge you when they ask you how are you going to fund, who's going to sponsor you, they're trying to make sure you have sufficient fund for not just first year, but also next year. You don't have to have that liquid amount, but you need to show a way that this amount is going to come somehow next year as well. And that depends on your answer. See, visa officers don't just care about how much money you have. They care about where the source is the source legit, stable, believable. They basically want to make sure you are not going to go to United States and ask US government to give you the money, because that's possible. And then 2, they also want to make sure that you don't go on the illegal, unauthorized work permit and get working off campus. So that's what they are trying to judge you. So don't just say who's funding you, explain how. And again, there's a myth that you need to have 1.5x the amount of I-20. That's a complete myth. There is nowhere in the visa manual says that you have to have this much amount. You just have to have enough for the first year and way to prove that the next year also the fund is gonna keep coming. That's where you can do it. And especially if you're taking loan, people have this weird, again, myth that because of the loan, they might see you as a negative connotation. No, actually, having a loan is a good thing because it's a guaranteed way to get the money and you're not gonna go anywhere else because you already have a loan to fund your education and cost of living, ideally. So having a loan is not a bad thing. And if you are someone who's looking for like a no collateral, no cosigner loan, MPOWER is super awesome in this category, especially if you're someone who's from lower middle class family like I was. I didn't have cosigner, I didn't have guarantor, I didn't have a collateral or property. I wish MPOWER existed when I was trying to do my master's. They did not. But since 10 years, they've been funding education loan and they have funded more than 20,000 people. So if you're in the market and if you're looking for the loan, maybe you don't need the full education loan, you just need a top-up loan, you can also consider going to them. You can check your eligibility within 60 seconds and get the results. Link will be in the description. Check it out. Thank you MPOWER for always supporting this channel and sponsoring this video. Now let's go to the second one, which is inconsistency in your answers. This one hurts because it's usually not about lying. It's the nervousness, the bad prep. You freeze in front of officers. You say something you didn't want it to say. And this is where the inconsistencies start to show up. One of the visa officers told me something that really stayed with me. It's not about the perfect answer. It's about the real and raw answers and consistent answers. So imagine your DS-160 says you're doing masters in AI, but you end up saying that you're doing masters in computer science. Or maybe you get too excited and you start talking about a professor in the university, and when they are Googling at that point of time and that professor does not show up, it starts to become like, wait, where is this answer coming from? Another inconsistency could be your I-20 amount. Now, it obviously clearly states what is the total tuition fees, but you end up saying like, my father is going to fund me, or I have an education loan of XYZ amount, and that's how, but that XYZ amount is lower than the I-20 amount, and now that creates a complication. Does that make sense? So if there is a mismatch in your DS-160 and what you're saying and what you're representing, that is another way for them to think like there's something sketchy going on. So you lose the credibility as a student, and everything that you say, they are thinking that you're lying at that point. So again, this is your story. I know that you might feel nervous. I know that there will be an anxiety and you might be panicking when they're asking you a question. And even if you fumble, even if you make a mistake, you can say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Let me say this. Or I'm sorry, I could not hear you. I'm sorry, I said this. Totally fine. That makes you more human. Don't memorize your answer like a robot, because then again, that'll not be helpful. So record yourself. Practice is your best friend. Record yourself and say it to your friend. Mock interviews is going to be helpful. So be clear, be real, and be consistent with whatever your DS-168. Your DS-160 is what they have in their hand. So if you have said that you have relatives, and when they ask you and you don't know about those relatives, you made a problem. Or if you said you don't have relatives and then in your answer somehow the relatives came up, that's a problem. So again, whatever is in your DS-160, be consistent with that. Alright, here's the third one, which is previous denial. Now, if you've had denials before, this is going to be the most difficult case for you to win, but it is possible. I've seen many students who had second attempt, third attempt, and still being able to clear it, but you don't have to deny it. They already know that you have denial. It's literally on their screen. One of the visa officers said that we don't ask that question to get info. We already have that info. We ask to check if you are honest. See, they're trying to make sure that you're not gaming the system. You're not trying to hide something from the visa officer. So again, don't hide it, because they already have this information. Even they might have the information about your B1, B2 rejection. If you went for tourist visa and got rejected, don't try to hide it. If they don't ask for it, you don't need to bring it up. But if they ask for it, just say, yes, I had rejection because I could not express properly. Now, I know one of the students who changed every single thing. Like they went after the first reject, they thought I should change my new course, I should go for new university, new sponsor. That's what they thought that got them rejected for the first time. But here's the catch: changing everything does not increase your credibility. It can hurt it, because the officer will think, did you really have a good plan? Like, why did you change all of this all of a sudden? Unless you do have a legit reason for changing it, or are you just doing like trial and error to enter the USA? So if you were denied before, address it. Just simply say, yes, I had a rejection in 2023 because I was not able to express clearly my plans for why I chose this university. Or, yes, I was rejected. I really don't know exact reason, but I feel like I could have not expressed myself and clearly communicated my plans for XYZ reason. So you see, being clear and being honest is going to be your best friend when it comes to your prior rejections. It is possible. I've seen people having 3 rejections and getting 4th approval. So don't lose your hope if you have rejections. All right, final one is weak ties to home country or potential immigrant intent. This is a big one, and this is probably why most people get rejected, is because they think that you have an intent to be immigrant in United States in future. The visa officer is silently asking you, are you going to come back after your studying, or what are your plans after your studies? And this is where most students end up saying something that gives them a signal that you're a potential immigrant. They might start saying like, oh yes, I'm gonna be working on OPT or H1B to pay back my loan. You're not supposed to do that. They don't need to know all of that information. One of the visa officer actually told me, if you don't sound like you want to come back, we assume you won't. They are making that assumption from the get-go. So again, in one of the meetup, I actually met the student who had amazing academics, full funding, great English, everything. But when the visa officer asked, what are your plans after graduation? He said, hopefully I'll get a job there, and maybe in Amazon and Google, and potentially and pay back my loan. So instead of talking about like how are you going to repay your loan, because they didn't ask you for that, so don't give that information if they didn't ask for it. Perhaps you can just talk about, I love building technology. I would love to utilize the skills that I learned during my masters and build some products. Or if you genuinely have a plan to come back, join your family business, then you have a family business. Maybe you want to build tech for your family business if you are going for tech industry. And again, if you are also the alone child, try to incorporate that in your answer, because then it shows that your parents are dependent on you and you will come back for them. So again, visa rejections are real and they happen. But again, I've made so many videos on this topic with visa officers, so go and check it out, so that way you have full clarity on it. Also had an ultimate F1 visa course. If you're interested, check them out as well. I'll probably be making more visa video as well. So let me know what more questions you have about F1 visa, and I'll try to address them in the next session. Maybe I'll bring the visa officer and we'll do a specific session on those questions as well. All right, before you go, if you have already gotten your F1 visa interview, please let me know in the comment section what was your experience. And if you have gotten it, congratulations. This is the time that you should join our ultimate job hunting community, because as soon as you land, you want to start looking for that full-time job and co-ops and internships. We will help you with all of that. So if you are interested, please check that out as well in the link in the description. Comment your experience, and before you go, here is the F1 visa videos. You might want to check them out as well. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep smiling and keep hustling. You gotta hustle every single day.